That's ISO. Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound. Fucking my post the same now, I've been humble too long, yeah. Tell them all to stay calm.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Wealth on the Rocks. Today we're doing a virtual podcast, which I'm super excited for. First of probably several virtual ones, but I'm so honored to have this guest here, Renee. Thank you so much for taking the time, but I just wanted to introduce her real quick. Renee is the founder of Mighty Minds Academy, right? And I know you have your hands in different things, but you're an entrepreneur. And every time I've had a conversation with you, you add so much value. And I know a lot of the people listening can really learn from what you have to say, especially people with kids and families. And I'm so excited for this conversation, but take it away. Introduce yourself. Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. You're my amigo, right? So thank you for that intro. I am excited to be here with you, David. This is, a friendship that was made really quickly. And I know why. It's because we're aligned in so many ways. And, forget the Spanish background, but that kind of, it was funny I would never have guessed that you were from Spain. Just like you probably wouldn't have guessed that I'm half Spanish, but at least.
Where are you from? Where's your family from?
My mom is from Cartagena.
Okay, I think we talked about this. Cartagena?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, that's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah.
So I don't speak the language, but I admire people that do, and it's one of my, little regrets that I didn't pursue, and I could do it now.
There's always time. Come on.
I know. I would have to be, I think, immersed in the country to really pick it up the way I would want to. So anyway, so my name is Renee Vee, and I am by trade a speech therapist. I still practice speech therapy. I'm actually back at it a little bit now. Helping out at schools to evaluate children and get them the right placement that they need, and supervising. But my passion is for mindset and empowerment and spreading a lot of good, what do you call it, nuggets maybe to people that, I learned in my 40s that have changed my life profoundly and have actually led me off the path of speech pathology and into this personal development world and entrepreneurship. So, right now it's an exciting time. It's also a stressful time. If anyone out there has been through this, entrepreneurial journey, it's an up and down roller coaster. And as rewarding as it can be, it could also be very, very challenging and at times frustrating. So any of you that are out there doing it, I applaud you. And I'm sure David does too, because he knows, that it's not for the faint of heart to start something and to create something out of thin air, really, that hasn't existed or you're going to do it your way. So I thank you for having me here. Sorry, my phone's, I got to turn it off.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like I was talking to somebody today, actually, and talking about this whole entrepreneurial thing, because there's a lot of people out there that are sort of towing the line between their main full-time gig, their entrepreneurial sort of dreams. There's a lot of people in that sort of way. I was doing that too, until I made the decision, obviously, to go full time right into my dreams. And you're never ready for that kind of step, right? But I was telling somebody that it feels like you're building the parachute on your way down already outside of the plane.
You couldn't have nailed the head more square on, because that's really what it is. And sometimes I'll post things about how my week's going, and it's a video of someone completely falling over and going downstairs and then getting up and then falling again. And it's really what it is. And you can't really understand it until you actually are there. And it doesn't feel good all the time. So to know that, and, just like we've met through, similar circles that we are in for personal development, it's really comforting to have people in your life that get it.
Yeah.
And that have, like, you don't need to start from the very beginning when you have a conversation with them. You dive right into what's going on and all of the challenges that you could be going through. And then also, like, to have those resources to help you get through it. And, oh, I remember when that happened to me, and this is what I did to help me. And, you find your mentors, you find your people, and you're in it together, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. I love that. And so walk me through that. So you were a speech therapist, right? And then you kind of transitioned into this whole world and, tell everybody, I mean, you were doing work with the Mighty Minds Academy, right? I saw the 5th Degree Academy stuff and everything else. Tell us all about it.
So when I finally made the jump to, leave my career that was very stable, and I didn't not like it, it just wasn't where my heart was. I was learning all these cool things, and it really called on me to start bringing this information, especially to our youth, because, as you know, our youth at school are learning. They're learning good things. They're not learning life skills. Yep. So, the antiquated curriculum is useful for certain things, but it's not helping our kids to understand who they are, what they want, what the possibilities are in life. It's kind of, squashing them a little bit, because if we don't have our eyes open to things that are possible for us, whether it comes from beliefs from our family or from the education system or from our friends or our neighborhood, whatever it is that's affecting, our children, and their belief system, because most of us adopt our parents' belief system or our church's belief system, or, when you're little, like your school, like the teacher's belief system. So, and those systems don't always work for everybody. And it's okay. It's okay to not, be utilizing that programming and to change your programming. And that's really what Mighty Minds is about, is bite-sized lessons that can help. It's a lot of the principles from the Think and Grow Rich book that I've used too, but they're in very, very small, manageable pieces for kids, even for adults, because knowing that I had no exposure to this, I'm very educated. I went through a lot of school. I studied the brain. I know things, knowledge, application of it. It's more through experience that I've figured out that, the hands-on experience, there's nothing like it if you want to learn something, but it's also understanding how your mind works and how your thoughts affect your feelings, affect your actions, affect your results. And that's not something that's like common talk.
Yeah, I feel, man, if we had a better grasp on all that sooner, I mean, those critical years, right, of when people, I'd say probably into the teenage years, right, when everybody's trying to figure out who they are, trying to figure out all these different things, what do you like to do, what's going to be future for me, what the career is, all these different things, right? Mm-hmm. It's a period of change and a period of adjusting in certain things, and I feel like the mindset piece, I mean, even if as an adult, right, like a lot of the everything comes from our mindset, right? All of our actions and how we feel and everything else comes from that, and how we go about our days. If we have a strong mindset, all these different challenges and things that come our way, or you're able to grab a hold of it. I tell people, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to things, right? It's a very big thing, and especially through those teenage years, especially, right? Like, there's a lot of things that you could use. I could probably use a little bit of that on the past, right? Having a better mindset of things.
Everybody, I don't really know. There's probably a very small percentage of humans that have a solid anything growing up. A solid mindset, a solid knowledge of what they want to be, a solid, belief in who they are and understanding of who they are. I feel like that's rare.
Yeah.
And the point and mission of Mighty Minds, as well as I've been in contact with a lot of other folks that are in this space, that we all have a common goal, and that's to raise the awareness, right? Raise the awareness, understand that mistakes are stepping stones on your path, really embodying a growth mindset, which, I mean, it's funny because I work with teens now, and they don't know what I'm talking about, but when I explain it to them, It is so powerful when they see a visual of, what a growth mindset looks like, what the characteristics of a growth mindset and characteristics of a fixed mindset. Yep. And when I explain it to them about, understanding that your challenges are meant to kind of build your thick skin and have you barrel through them and be resilient through them, and understanding that there's no cap to our learning. There's no cap. There's always room to learn. There's always room to change. There's always room to grow. And if I had that thought process as a kid, I think it would have changed a lot of things for me. Yeah, 100%. I felt more confident with myself to go after what I wanted, even though it was against what everyone else was doing. Yeah. And, it gives you that power, that confidence, the strong self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-worth, all of that. Mm-hmm. And if we take a look at what our kids are learning in school, and I know you have littles, but so it's coming for you, but
it'll get there eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. But as a dad, as someone who's really into personal development, you're already giving your kids a leg up amongst a lot. And that's because you're raising your girls in that kind of headspace where the world is your oyster. You can do anything you want. You can be, do, or have anything. And we say it and it sounds fluffy and you could be anything, but it's really true. And I think what happens over the years is that because our kids are going through the school system, I'm not knocking the school system ever. I don't want people to think that I'm like a school basher. I went through grad school. I loved school. Yeah. But what I was finding is that, and if you could see the statistics about it, is that people are realizing later in life that they just kind of rode a train that everyone else was on because that was what's socially acceptable. Sure. So, to feel confident enough to say, you know what, I want to go to space, something like that. So it sounds so far-fetched. But if we have that goal in our mind and we take little steps towards learning how to do that and find the resources, you can make it happen. It's something, and that's just an example, but I mean, it doesn't have to be something even that big. It could be as small as, getting on the football team, when you're little. There's so many opportunities for us to grow and expand ourselves. And I think that's what's important about the work that I'm doing is, having kids, even adults, teens, find what makes them tick. Yeah. What is it that you love?
That's really good. That is incredible. And I feel like too, for not only for the teenagers too, but for the parents, as helping them navigate through those situations, right? Because like you said, right, our growing up is what shaped the way we see the world. And this is something I think sometimes is man, what would it be different about my life if I grew up in India? What would my culture be totally different? My mindset, my parents. If you think about those things, right, depends on where you grow up and how you grew up and all these different things. That's how it affects who you are and who you become. And then all throughout your years, the people that you make relationships with, right? The people that you hang around with the most, those are you end up becoming similar to the people close to you. But how do you walk through those things, right? First of all, what are some of the main pillars that you cover through that, or what are the main lessons that you teach? And then for both the teenagers or kids, and then to their parents as well.
The programs that I've developed are all very similar for all three groups of people. So like little kids, well, when I say little, I would say like probably like 8 years old and up, just when they're ready, they're going into second grade-ish, they're learning how to read. So it makes it a lot more like an enrichment and enriching situation for them. Yeah. So I have 3 programs and each one has 6 lessons. So it really starts out with what is mindset, because, it's a buzzword. Oh, you don't have people don't really know what it is. And, it sounds like what it is it's how your mind is set. Right. But, what people don't realize is that we can change our mindset. We can revamp ourselves every week if we wanted. We could turn the tables and say, you know what, last week I didn't like this week, I think I'm going to give it a chance and try it, and it's okay to do that. So mindset, growth versus fixed, right? Scarcity versus abundance. There's so many different topics that we could talk about, but what I start with is just what is, what is it? Growth versus fixed. And then I have these really cool activities that people can do to really express what kind of mindset they have. And usually we're a little bit of both, right? Like we're not like 100% growth mindset, 100% fixed. Some people are, but most people are like in between, right? So I consider myself more growth mindset oriented. I'm assuming you are too, because you're doing a podcast and you're in the financial world and you have kids, like you're multifaceted. So it's typical for someone with a growth mindset to have their hands in a bunch of things because we want to try everything.
That's right.
And we don't fear failure because, trying everything, some things are going to work and some things aren't. So, then it moves right into self-love, right? Self-acceptance. The problem is that I see is people are not prioritizing themselves. They're putting themselves second, third, fourth, all the way down the line. Yeah. And growing up, I'm a little older than you, but I think like that, the thought of, we came from the parents that, stay at home mom, dad went to work, mom did all the things. And, they never took time for themselves. They were constantly pouring into the children, pouring into the father or whatever it is, Yeah. And if you were to not do something with your kids because you were doing something for yourself, that means you're selfish.
Right.
That's the school that I'm if you're not home with your children at all times and not, you're being selfish. Yeah. So, and that's another table I want to flip over because I went through hard times raising my kids. I have a 15 and a 10-year-old. And when I lived in New York and I was raising them alone, my husband was there. But he worked a lot. And so I was working full time, coming home, taking care of these kids. And I really put my own needs aside. And what do you think that did for me?
Probably stressed out of your mind. And
frustration through the roof because I felt resentment because I was working. I wasn't the stay-at-home mom. I was working full-time and full-time momming. Yeah. And not having the time that I needed for myself. And nor was I, even like able to figure out how to take care of myself in that way because I didn't have a lot of help.
Yes.
So, when I moved, I made a very conscious decision that I wasn't going to allow me being a mom interfere with what I need to do for myself to fill my cup. Yeah. So I got a sitter. I made it work where I was able to be Renee, at least an hour a day, whatever that looked like, whether it be going to the grocery store alone, which I'm sure grocery store with kids. You're there for 2 hours and you got 5 things in your basket, Yeah. So, and even getting them in and out of the car and unbuckling all the things.
Hustle. Yeah. It's
so much time. So I even just to go to the grocery store alone was like it was like a gift. I was like, this is wonderful. I could just get it done and get out of here and like actually look at the products and decide what I want and not throw things in. And I have kids throwing things in. So, it really changed everything for me. I started feeling more myself because, when you're a new parent, you don't feel like yourself. You have this whole new situation going on in your world. It's so beautiful.
It's tough too. And I feel like too, like moms especially have a harder time than maybe dad sometimes. Cause I feel like there's this pressure of like, you have to be a good mom and like all this, right? Like I know me and my wife talked about this and I feel like there's always that sort of pressure, right? Didn't you think?
Oh yeah.
Just being a good parent. And,
like universally the mom is the one that gets judged, because, that's an old school thing too, because nowadays there's a lot of dads that are raising their kids and I'm not trying to minimize that, but I'm a mom. So I'm speaking from my experience. And, when I finally decided that I deserve to do things that fill my cup.
Yeah.
I deserve these things because what does that do? It makes me a better mom.
Yeah.
So it's almost the opposite of what the thought as I was growing up is that if you do things for yourself, you're not a good mom.
Yeah. It's so true. So true. Because I mean, that even with speaking of the mindset piece, like how much more you're going to show up for your kids if your mindset is right, if you're at peace, if you have, those times that you dedicate right to yourself and to grow and to learn new things and to, like sometimes even just a break, right? Like that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. So I think that's really what I want to scream from the mountaintops with this programs is that and even for kids, because I feel like they have a whole separate set of scenarios that they're going through that if they had the self-acceptance, the self-love would help them through it because they love themselves and they know what makes themselves feel better. They know they have strategies to shake it off when there's like a bad day. And I love what Les Brown says. He said, don't say you have a bad day. Say you're having a character building day.
Yeah, that's good.
And I love that because it does, once we say bad anything, what do you think of, right? It's negative.
Right.
So, to turn the words around like that, like he does is so powerful. Because I've started saying it. So, people see it in my face. So I'm just having a character building day. and people laugh. And then you laugh. And then guess what? You feel better already,
Yeah, absolutely.
You already feel better because it's all about, how you feel inside. And even just putting a smile on your face in the morning, even if you feel terrible, it changes your body. It changes the neural pathways. It changes everything. Like you can pretend that you're happy and your body will respond.
100%. That's so interesting too. Like I have that sometimes, like obviously we in the entrepreneurial world, right? Like you sometimes have a lot of different client appointments and then sometimes people reschedule things like that. Right. And it's like, you know what? That's okay. We can dedicate this time to do something else and like pivot. And we have a saying on our agency is like, we don't panic, we pivot. Right. And so
love that. Yes.
You're in the middle of it. We don't panic. We pivot. We do something else. We switch our mindset. We pivot.
I love that. You should coin that term. Like we don't like that saying. I
don't know who said it first, but I don't think I can get the credit from it. But
it doesn't matter. I mean, just using it because it does make a lot of sense. There's like panicking does nothing for us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's important that, especially for the agents you're working with, that you are showing them that, just like you're showing your kids that and your wife that, and whoever you spend your time with, when they see you not panicking, but pivoting, it encourages them to do the same. So,
and it's easier said than done, by the way, right? Like,
oh God, yeah. I'm not saying that it's like the easiest thing in the world, but it's a good frame of mind to have because panicking and worrying don't do anything but bring upon the things that we don't want. So we want to be sure that people are functioning and not, when something goes wrong, like crawling in a hole or quitting or, not putting forth 100% effort because they're in a funk,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, I know we haven't really talked about this, but you are also an author and you co-author this book, the is manifesting BS, right? And so I'm curious to learn about that too. Like what prompted you to go into that and write co-author the book and
so
how does that intertwine?
it's not out yet. It's due.
Okay.
And yeah, I met a friend who on a podcast actually, and we became friendly. And she's just, gosh, like we're like soul sisters. You know how I feel about you, like you're my brother. I feel a certain way, and I've been on her podcast twice because she has one that's face to face, and then she started the Is Manifesting BS. It's just audio podcast. So her and her husband and me and my husband were on it together.
That's awesome.
We had a great time. It was a lot of fun because it is something that's another, like I say, a buzzword, manifesting. It is real, it is a real thing. And I think that it sounds kind of ethereal, but it's not. It is a real thing. We're manifesting every day, manifesting good things and bad things, all based on our thoughts. So Cindy Whitman is there's like 5 of us that are doing this book together. It's together, but separate. So I have my own chapters, and it's Renee within there. But Cindy had asked her, she was going through a phase where she was like, is manifesting shit? And then her 2 daughters, and she's got 6 kids. Her 2 older daughters, they were all having this conversation. So they co-authored the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Manifesting BS 2. 2.
Okay. There you go.
Yes. So I am in the midst of writing for that book right now. And I've also submitted some articles into, I'm part of She Rises Studios.
Okay.
It's a platform for women that a lot of opportunities are passed around with, getting your voice out there in a bigger way than just posting online. It's like newspaper articles, and now my curriculum is being uploaded to their platform. So getting more exposure, which is what you need as an entrepreneur. You can't do it alone.
Yeah.
We need help, right? And we don't need help because we're weak. We need help because we want to remain strong. That's what another Les Brown quote that I say, because it's true. There's no shame in asking for help. So I ask for all the time. I mean, even me being on here is a gift, because once this goes out, that it's something more I can promote about what I do. It's getting my voice out there, my face out there. So she asked me to be a part of it. And it wasn't even a question. I said, yes, I'm interested in being a part of that, because it does tie into what I do. It's very aligned with, the law of attraction and how our thoughts affect us, because that's where manifesting all begins, is in your mind.
Absolutely.
So I haven't started writing it yet, but I have it on my list to start amongst all the other things, as you know, how it goes. Yeah. I have a lot of ideas, and I think when I sit down to actually write, it'll just write itself.
It'll flow. Yeah, I think especially with your work that you're doing with kids and young teenagers and things, right? I feel like when it comes to manifesting too, because this is something that obviously a buzzword, right? It is a buzzword. For me, I see it because I'm a believer myself, and so prayer is a big part of my daily life. And the manifesting and the prayer, I feel like is kind of all in one thing, right? And so the way I see it is, right, we pray, we manifest the things, like God opens up all those opportunities, but you have to put in the work and you got to put behind it, right? To you can get a door open, but you have to be able to walk in it and go through it, right? So
right.
How do you work through those? Because I think especially young teenagers, right? They're in a phase of trying to figure out who they are. They're trying to figure out their why, their purpose. And sometimes they probably don't even know what to ask or manifest, right? Because they don't even know what they want. So I'm curious, how do you walk through those conversations with them, and just what are some of the things you say to help them find their why on that?
So I think a lot of it to begin with when I start working with teens is really set, like taking them through the wheel of life, right? The facets of life. What and rate yourself. So in the area of finances, rate yourself. In the area of social friends, social, school, family. And from those ratings, I'm able to say, okay, well, they feel really good spiritually, but their physical, they're unhappy with. So that's a goal, right? That's where you pull your goal from.
Sure.
So then we just dive deeper into, okay, well, you mentioned that, I'm just using this as an example, physical, maybe you're not at the weight you want to be, or maybe you want to, be more flexible because you're a gymnast, whatever it is that you want to work on. And the way I know that is through how they rate themselves. So it's all about self-awareness and self-improvement. And I think that's what sets it aside from a lot of other things, is that everything I do with these kids is about them.
Yeah.
Everything. It's not about their family. It's not about their cousins. It's not about me. It's about them. And what is more interesting than you, right? When you learn about yourself, we're with ourselves. This is it. And we don't live life with anyone else but ourselves forever.
That's true.
So why aren't we doing this more? Why aren't we not discovering these things that make us tick? And why are we not setting goals that we can reach that will make us feel good and have us accomplish something? So I usually pull from, their own rating and say, okay, well, let's say, all right, you want to work on this. This is a big goal. What are the steps we can take to reach that goal? What are practical things we can do today? Let's say you want to be a country singer. Well, that's a big, lofty goal, right? Doesn't mean it can't happen, but what can you do now as a teenager or as a kid to get yourself towards that goal? Yeah. And I have them generate all these things. I'm not giving them any information. I'm just guiding.
Probing, yeah.
And, so I think once they understand that their goal could be anything, we just need the steps to the path to get there. Yeah. And, and some of them could be from when they're adults, what they want to do. Maybe they want to write music or whatever, but what can you do now, right? We can start whenever to start aligning ourselves and our behavior towards that goal. So I do a lot of that. It's a lot of discovery. It's a lot of, okay, what is it you love? What is it you love to do? If you could have anything, what would you want? Right. And then visualizing it. We do vision boards. We do affirmations. We do admiring your friends. What about your friends or your family do you admire? And we embody those characteristics as us. And I think what I'm doing is not rocket science. I think it's just explaining the possibilities to them and having an open ear and an open heart for them, because I think sometimes, and I was that girl, and I think I still am that teenager deep down, of just fighting the power, right? Like I'm in between. Was Britney Spears say, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. Like how confusing is that?
Yep.
Like what part of my life do I want to continue to need my parents for? And what part of my life do I want to take the reins and do it on my own? Right. So giving them that gift of that self-discovery, I think is, gosh, I wish I had that.
It's so amazing. And I'm curious, have you ever heard of the term ikigai? You ever heard of that?
No.
So this is something that you might be able to use, but so the Japanese have a term they call it the secret of a joyful life, right? And it's called ikigai. And so all these different circles that interconnect, but essentially there's four of them. So it's what you love, what you can get paid for, what the world needs, and then what you're good at. And so all of those interconnecting circles, you can find your passion, your mission, your profession, your vocation, right? All these different interconnecting circles. They have the word for it, which is like your purpose, right? Your what you call your why. And so I love that exercise too, like walking people through younger, right? Like being able to figure out, all right, what can I do that I love? What can I do that I'm good at, and I can use my resource, God-given talents, right? Which is something too that I recently sort of the self-discovery, right, of like the self-development and being an entrepreneur and all these things. This is kind of silly, but for the longest time, I haven't been leaning on my own Spanish speaking abilities and strengths. And this is something that I've sort of had come to Jesus moment, right? Like, it's like, man, I'm bilingual and I'm not doing anything on the Spanish community. Like, and my passion is there, right? My passion is to be able to help in a big way on the Spanish community through the financial stuff and all these different things that we do. But I haven't been doing that. And so I feel like that's one of the things that like knowing, and it takes time, right, to get to those things. But right now is sort of implementing my new discovered why, right? Of like, all right, now I'm using my God-given talents to be able to serve a specific group of people and like have a bigger impact, a bigger mission, right? So
yeah. And how valuable are you that you have that language to be able to communicate to those who aren't really understanding English or speaking it yet, and like they need help. This country is not an easy place to live. So it's, to have you as a resource is so important. Yep. It's so important. So I want to hear your goal for that and what you're going to do to get to that place.
Yeah. I feel like there's a couple things. I mean, I've always been passionate about the Spanish community, and there's something I already have kind of in the works, but I'd love to have a foundation that I can help immigrants when they come into this country. That it's a tough. There's not a lot of help, right? Like whenever you come here as an immigrant, like I moved here 2015, 2014. It's been a minute, but there wasn't really a lot of
though, it was less than 10 years ago, and you're an adult.
So there's that struggle of like, I come to a new country. Sometimes people don't speak the language, right? So how do you navigate that? How do you navigate finding a home? How do you navigate finding career? Besides the hey, let's do something as a job immediately, or let's figure out what do I want to actually do. The immigration thing alone, like with the attorneys and all the paperwork it took me like 4 or 5 years to become a permanent resident. Mm-hmm. So it's not like an immediate thing that you come here and you're like already good, yeah. Right? And then working now through becoming a citizen. So that's another exciting thing. But how do you go through those pieces of the puzzle, and then how do you find community? Because I think that's a big piece, like especially for the immigrant community, right? Like how do you get integrated within your community? I know there's different organizations right now that do a lot of events and things like that, but I feel like there's a lot more that you always could do, right? And having those type of relationships that you build can help you get integrated faster, right, in that community as an immigrant. So I think that's one of the big pieces that I'm, whatever that looks like, sort of foundation, nonprofit type of, so that's in the works too. But I'm excited to kind of think through what all that looks like, but definitely do something to create some impact on that. So.
Oh, it's so needed. It's so needed. I love that. I would love to be a part of that in any way, shape, or form. So keep me posted on that.
Absolutely. And another question I have for you, if you were to go back in time to, let's say, 12-year-old Renee, right? Mm-hmm. What would be the first thing or the first couple of things that you would tell her about life, about resilience, about speaking of their self-love, self-image, all that kind of stuff?
I probably would start off with that you're different and it's okay.
Wow.
you're different, you think differently, and that's okay. Because I think when you're raised in a time in a household, and I went to a small Catholic school, the same kids every year, it's a family. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was very lovely upbringing. But I think if you're different in that kind of capacity, it's not welcomed with open arms, if that makes sense. It's more of like that group paradigm of this is what we do, right?
Yeah.
This is what we do. So I think that would be the number one thing is to be solid in who I am at 12, as much as you possibly can be. And knowing that just because the masses are going this way, it's okay to take the less traveled path.
Sure.
And do things differently and be okay with people that might not accept that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big one that hit me when I discovered that I can put up boundaries, and it's healthy to put up boundaries and make decisions that work for you. And you have to just block out all the noise outside, right? Like, oh, who are you to do that? Or what do you think you're doing? And, oh, you could never do that. Like there's going to be naysayers. And at 45, I still have naysayers. But now what's different, obviously, when you're a 12-year-old, you're not solid in anything really. Like your whole body's changing and you're learning new things and you have to keep up with school and you're trying to be on the sports team. You're trying to be the popular one. But I think that's what changed me as an adult.
Yeah.
Is discovering that I don't need to explain myself to people. Yeah. I can just be me and do me, and you don't need to understand it.
Yeah.
So, we have to tread lightly with that because, as kids, we don't want to tell them, well, don't worry about what your parents say, do what you want. But it's not like that. It's more so being inside okay with yourself, because that is what is causing all of this nonsense with the mental health out there, is that our kids, even up to adulthood, they're not accepting who they are.
Yeah.
And not surrounding themselves with the right people. And I think that's what is important to note, is that if we are feeling a certain way or we desire something, it's always going to help us more to find a tribe that's similar to us, right? And I think a lot of kids they don't feel like that's an option. Especially for me growing up, it was very, very closed. We had the same kids, K through 8, same families. I still am friends with them now. There's nothing wrong with it, but to be the one that goes left when everyone's going right.
Sure.
It just, you always will. What are they going to say? What are they going to say? We care too much about what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is take our joy and steals our joy away, because we are basing what we're doing and what we're saying and places we want to go on what other people say is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So I
love that.
It's kind of a complicated answer, but I feel like understanding who I was and knowing that it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
It is really important for our kids to know.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And I think too, like there's, like you said, right, there's a certain sort of line of like going to your parents and asking for help and guidance, and then there's other mentors too that you can, it doesn't have to be necessarily your parents, right? There's other people that you find in your life that all throughout your life as a teenager and beyond, right, that you find people that in a way you're mentored by, like teachers in school, right? Like there's all sorts of people that can be a mentor to you and show you a different way of thinking, or things like that, or alignment on what you're thinking and who you are. And one of the things too that I say always is like, you take the good and leave the bad. So there's not such thing as a perfect leader or a perfect coach or mentor. You take the good, you leave the bad. and you grow from it, right? And you keep moving. And looking at the past, right? We talk about that. What about the future? What is future Renee? If you were to have a conversation with, 80-year-old Renee, what does it look like?
80-year-old Renee wants to be traveling the world and serving.
I love that.
Helping in any way, shape, or form I can, in any capacity, whether it be guiding people, speaking on stages, which I'm starting to love. And
Awesome.
I just know that it's such a powerful way to get a really important message across without, speaking to just one person or messaging one person. It's just like I want bigger and better, faster and stronger. Like, let's go, So I think my dream is to have, my programs and just my message be something that's common, and, having mindset and empowerment common in schools, common in homes, have it not be so trendy or ethereal, because it's real. It's real. And it's something that if it was in our kids' pockets, it could change everything for them. It's just so important. The information is so important. So I don't plan to ever stop doing this, into my 80s. God willing, I'll be physically able to, but I want to pass this down to my children and leave them with, I want to leave the earth better than I came to it in. And I also want my kids to have a legacy. I want my name to live on way after I'm not here anymore, in this life. And have my children following suit, whatever they want to do. I always tell them I will support you as long as it's legal, ethical, and moral. I'll always be your biggest fan. And if they were to, both of my kids are amazing. And I feel like them seeing what I'm doing, even going through this journey, it's not easy. And even right now, like I fed them dinner, they're coming in, they're peeking in. They see what I'm doing. They see that I'm putting myself out there. And that's really important for me to have them see.
I love that. And then they'll follow suit too, right? Like, it's so amazing how you talk about leaving a legacy behind. That's one of the things I think about on a daily basis, right? Too. And just how can I leave the best legacy, not only like financial stability, but also like the legacy of who I am and the values that I've brought into future generations, right? So that's huge. That's huge. And thank you so much for sharing all of this with me and with us, everybody that's listening. I'm curious, for everybody out there, curious to write on the comments some of the struggles that you might face, or some of those maybe limiting beliefs and things that you are trying to overcome. And feel free to follow Renee on her socials. I'll leave them behind there, so everybody can go
and reach out to me. I mean, I don't want to be a strange girl on a podcast that no one reaches out to. The whole purpose is that I want to help. So if someone is struggling, or if you have questions, or, if you think that it would be, if there's something in your life that's going on that you don't really, with your kids, especially, that you're trying to navigate, I'm not, a know-it-all. I don't know everything, but I do understand that there's certain steps we can take to help and really raise awareness. And, I just want to help. So if anybody out there has questions or wants to reach out to me, please do. We all need help, right, David? We all need help. There's nobody in this world that doesn't need help in one way, shape, or form. So the hardest part is asking for it, right?
That's true. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, amazing. Thank you for being here again. And then you guys, we'll see you in the next episodes. Tune in and we'll see you.